everyone, I'm going to be helping you today with the AP Psychology test review, obviously. I'm one of the EAOP tutors, so I'm really happy to be here. So today we're going to be taking a look at testing and individual differences. This is only going to take about 5 to 7% of the test. And you should take a look at these key terms, and this is what we're going to be going over a little bit in this video. If at any point you have any questions, just feel free to pause the video and then kind of make flashcards or any of that sort of thing that might help you. So we're going to start out with standardization. And what is standardization? Keep in mind, how are we going to make these tests? How are we going to make a control group? So first, we're going to create a standardization sample, and what that means, you take a group of people who represent the entire population, and you test this group of people and then apply what you learn about it to the sample and to the entire population. So then you're going to make norms, which is the standards of performance against which anyone who takes the test, a given test, can be compared to. And because of this, we have to constantly be re-standardizing, which is called the Flynn effect. The Flynn effect deals with the phenomenon that the general IQ score of the population changes over time. So we're just going to do a really quick practice question that you might see on the AP exam. It says, what is standardization sample and why is it used? This is just kind of to get you thinking. So if you want to take a moment to think about that, go ahead and pause the video. So the answer is standardization sample is a group of people who represent the entire population against which a particular group is to be compared. The standardization sample is used to set the norm. That's a key part, used to set the norm. Cool, so now we're looking at reliability and validity. And this is going to be 6 different types of tests, which are really important. Equivalent form reliability, this you might see often in classrooms. It's a different but similar test covering the same concepts, and these are given to different groups. So for example, you might see 3 plus x equals 10, 4 plus x equals 12, same concept of finding this x factor. Yeah, it's just obviously different numbers. So split half reliability, it's a method of testing one group takes half the test and the other group takes the other half. So one half might take the even, the other half might take the odd. So now we're going to look at test-retest reliability. It's the reliability is assessed by giving participants a test and later administering the same test. So it might be easier to think about that with an example. So go ahead and look at the example. And again, if you need more time to look at this slide, please go ahead and pause it. So internal validity. The internal validity is whether the experiment is measuring what should be measured, because basically you ask yourself, are these results down to chance or actually because of the dependent variable? So yeah, go ahead and look at the example at that again too. And then we're going to look at external validity, the degree to which results from the test can be generalized to the real world. So a valid and reliable IQ score test measures, measures supposedly what intelligence is and stuff. So now we're going to look at predictive validity. It's the extent to which a score on a scale or test predicts scores on some criteria measure. So again, that might be like while you're applying to a job, they might give you like a mini math test just to make sure that you know how to use numbers if you're using the register, like a cash register type of thing. So now we're looking at the types of tests that are administered. We have projective tests, and what those are ambiguous stimuli open to interpretation. And perfect examples are actually 2 of our tests that we're going to look at. It's called the ink block test and the thematic perception test, the TAT test. So first, let's look at inventory type tests. It's where participants answer a standard series of questions, yes, no, I don't know type of questions. Just usually this is used to diagnose abnormalities, like is it difficult to get you excited, yes or no. Now we're going to be looking at these projective tests that we were talking about. 2 examples are the ink block test, where people look at an image and then they characterize it. For example, if you look over on the right side, you see this image. What might that be? That could maybe be like a butterfly or a bug. It's all up to interpretation, to what the person might see. So now we're going to look at the TAT test, and that's when a person is giving a series of pictures, and then they have to try to make up a story. So again, look at the example, and if you look at this crying woman, you might say, oh, she's sad, why is she sad, type of thing. Now we're going to look at power tests. Power tests gauge the abilities in certain areas. It's a difficult type of vocabulary test, for example, or like a difficult math test. So yeah, that's pretty straightforward. So speed test. A speed test is very easy in terms that it's not a difficult test, but the fact that it's being timed, it makes it like more pressure, so it might be more difficult for a person. The achievement test is actually kind of funny because it assesses knowledge gained. So you're actually going to be taking an achievement test while you're taking the AP exams. And finally, we have the aptitude test, which evaluate a person's abilities to do something. So that's how you get your driver's test. You have to actually show that you can drive a car to be able to get a license. We're looking at intelligence now, and what intelligence is, and the people. Alfred Binet, he was a French psychologist who first began to measure intelligence with his test, with the Stanford-Binet intelligence scale. And we also have, what is the intelligence test? It's an IQ quotient. So yeah, most people know as an IQ, which is the intelligence quotient. It's the most modern way that psychologists measure an aspect of intelligence, and then they compare it to like the average, if it's above or below the score, like the score. And then there's emotional intelligence, and that's being able to recognize people's intent and motivations. So maybe like if you see someone angry, you might not necessarily want to talk to them because you recognize that. And then we have the Stanford-Binet intelligence scale, and that's the common intelligence test given to children. We're going to keep looking at this, and a good acronym to remember is WAIS. And this this scale generally has 6 types of questions: information, comprehension, arithmetic, similarities, vocabulary, and a digit span. Now we have Charles Spearman. He proposed that there was general intelligence, or a G factor. And what is this G factor, you might ask? It's where the G-factor intelligence applied across all mental activities, which is close to the standard definition for intelligence. So it's responsible for the overall performance on mental ability tests. And we also have this factor analysis, which is a statistical measure for analyzing test data. Now we're going to keep looking at intelligence, and we have Robert Sternberg. He proposed that intelligence could be more broadly defined as having 3 major components: analytical, practical, and creative intelligence. And Howard Gardner, he's the most prominent of the idea of multiple intelligence, of having abilities to be intelligent in multiple places. For example, verbal, mathematical, musical, kinesthetic, environmental, intrapersonal. And then we have Daniel Goleman. He's a psychologist, and he recently has done work on the importance of emotional intelligence and has created programs for enhancing one's emotional intelligence. Heritability coefficient is a rough measure of the proportion of variation among individuals that can be attributed to genetic effects. Psychometrics, psychology testing, psychologists must be sure that they follow certain guidelines. Cool, so now we're going to do a really brief review. You should definitely keep finding AP books and things that might help you. So one of the questions that they might ask you on the AP exam is, which of the following is an example of a projective test? So kind of look back, kind of remember. If you need more time, again, go ahead and pause the video. The answer is the thematic perception test, the TAT test. So that's that image again that we were looking at earlier. Another question, which of the following is not a dimension of intelligence in Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence? Kind of think back, what do we say? One of them being emotional. That was a different psychologist. So again, go back and look. If you have any questions, please feel free to email the EAOP tutors. Go ahead, good luck on the exam. Study hard, and flashcards help. Remember to look at the links below to this presentation. There's other helpful links. So yeah, please like and subscribe and check out the other videos. Thank you. Good luck on your AP exam.